St. George Hotel in Teesside. Built in the 1940s, its squat brick appearance gives it away as an ex-military building. Once it was the officers' mess of RAF Middleton St. George. When the Air Force moved out in the 1960s, the base became Teesside International Airport, and the mess became a hotel. The hotel is a busy stopover for aircrew, but over the last 30 years, it's gained notoriety for being haunted. On the 17th of November 1982, airline pilot Barney Concannon headed for his room in the west wing of the hotel.
I'd just come in from the late London flights, arriving about 9 o'clock at night.
Another pilot, Grant Waters, was also staying in the west wing 3 years earlier in March of '79.
I was sort of working earlies, so we had our normal sort of evening do in the bar.
Both men were senior pilots, not given to flights of fancy.
I went to bed slightly earlier than the crews who were on lates.
I went to bed about 11 o'clock. It was very cold, and it always was in that area of the hotel. Got into bed, and I'd been in bed about 2 minutes when I felt this heavy, really heavy pressure on my lower legs. And as if a man or a heavy weight was sitting on them.
And I felt the pressure on my legs, and eventually it sort of moved up to my chest. I felt the bed sort of going down with the weight.
And I just lifted my head and turned it round and said, F off. And it went.
And I said, please go away, because I'm on earlies. And he went just like that.
Barney wrote an article about that night for Pilot's magazine and discovered he wasn't alone.
Interviewed 20, 25 people in working for British Midland who'd had similar or even worse, well, most of the experiences they had were worse than the one I had.
Stewardess Heather Raybould stayed regularly at the St. George from 1975 to 1995. She claims to have been visited by the ghost twice.
I mean, when I first joined British Midland, everybody used to talk about this ghost. It was sort of like the weight of a man, really. Just a heavy weight of somebody pushing me down. I just didn't know what to do. I found I couldn't shout out, I couldn't talk, I couldn't scream. I couldn't do anything. I just felt like I'd frozen. I never wanted to stay in the hotel again. I did everything I could to change my posture.
One stewardess was making her way down to breakfast.
She was walking down the corridor and saw this pilot, so she said good morning to him. He didn't answer. She thought, oh, he's wearing funny clothes, you know, like the old pilots used to wear, the old leathers and that. Anyway, she turned round and he disappeared. He wasn't there.
Could the clothing offer a clue to the ghost's identity? Barney started researching the history of the base.
Somebody mentioned that a meteor had crashed into the building in the early 50s, and I did a bit of investigation into that.
In a bizarre tragedy on the 24th of November 1951, Flight Lieutenant Raymond Norman lost control of his Meteor jet while training. He slewed across the car park. Out of 30 cars there, he destroyed just one, a pre-war Humber, his own. Then he smashed into the mess, demolishing just one room, his own, in what is now the West Wing, where all the sightings have taken place.
He was still alive. The accident didn't kill him at all. And as he was getting out, a lump of concrete fell down, struck him. The official cause of death was given as a broken neck. And I thought, well, if you're going to die like that, you know, are you going to stay around and haunt the place?
If it is the ghost of Raymond Norman, then he is still around to this day.
He was seen in April of this year by a guest on a tour. The lady woke up in the middle of the night, saw what she thought was a husband standing by the window, and turned over to find that he was actually in bed with her. We like our ghost. He doesn't interfere with us, and we take him as quite friendly. Unfortunately, he doesn't like flight crew, and in particular flight deck, and they're the ones that he has the most problem with.
Some of the cabin crew, if they're rostered to stay in the hotel, they used to go sick. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but they did.
Whatever you think about this, I mean, this has happened to 20, 25 people, to my knowledge. So there's got to be something to it.